Man, there's some spooky sounds out here. Hope I don't get Friday the 13th. I'm in Salad, and I saw Friday the 13th. It's directed by Sean S. Cunningham, and one of the actors is Kevin Bacon. How many degrees of bacon are you away from him? I'm 3. What's your number? My experience with horror films is very limited. My exposure to horror films before this year was my brother watching them, and I wasn't even watching it with him, so I only heard the screams and the terrifyingness. I was excited to see this because it's one of the classics, and I've never seen this before. And I was like, wow, I get to see where a lot of things come from. I'm very excited. This movie starts off with a look on 2 counselors, and they're fucking in the cabin, and then, they get killed. Wow, murder, death, kill. But then, after that, flash forward to the future, where we see another counselor going to Camp Crystal Lake. The counselor gets a ride to the death murder camp and is repeatedly told that, hey, this is very dangerous. You should not be going to this place. But the person who takes her there is still taking her there. So if the person really cared, they wouldn't be taking her there, you know? She gets dropped off and then gets picked up by a driver that we do not see, who then wouldn't let her off the right exit, so she jumps out of the car, and then that car backs up, and oh no, it's the murderer guy. Who is it? We don't know. We don't see them. Very big suspense. And I've seen this a lot throughout the entirety of the movie, is you get some parts where it's establishing some serenity, and then when you least expect it, you get a bunch of violence, but only a couple seconds of violence, and then back to peace, and it's really good tension building. So this counselor gets killed, and then we get to see 6 counselors singing a song right next to the fire pit on an acoustic guitar, and it reminds me of the Sunday school songs that I had to endure, and I hated that shit. And I was just thinking at this moment, oh man, if I was here, I would immediately leave because of all the singing, not because of the murder, death, kill. Basically, the pattern goes like this. You got a couple of campers going off by themselves, and you also have a main group. And then you got some of the main group also going off by themselves. So one by one, they get picked off. My favorite murder, death, kill has to be when you got Ned, he got killed, but he's on top of this bunk bed. And underneath the bunk bed, you got the 2 couple who's fucking underneath his corpse. And they don't know it until the chick leaves. And by the time the chick leaves and you got the drop of blood going on the dude's face, boom, death. And what a brutal death too. Right through the back of the neck. And I'm like, oh no, that's really vicious. Definitely the kill scenes were really good, really well done in this film. I really enjoyed the creativity of the shooting of the deaths, like the first kill, it wasn't like explicitly shown because part of the body was covered by the killer. And so you only saw the motion line, and the actual cut of the knife wasn't shown, but only the bleeding afterwards was, which I really liked. There's also a lot of implied violence in this film, which I really enjoyed. Like, wow, there's a lot of creative ways to get around violence without having to show a lot of gore. And by today's standards, this isn't very gory, but I was reading the Wikipedia, and there's a lot of people who said that they didn't like the gore in it, which is weird. I mean, it is from the 80s, but compared to today, this is nothing. But I do like seeing where a lot of things come from. There were some scenes where you got the victim alone, like the one scene with the chick in the panties. She's kind of doing her makeup or whatever. She's brushing her teeth. And the shower curtain's open. And what I would have done differently is I would have checked the shower curtains first. Because it's partially open. There might be somebody there. I'm a little bit paranoid like that. I know the chick isn't, but she should be, or else she wouldn't have been died. So yeah, she gets axed to the face. That's on her, though. She should have known. Oh man, that game of strip Monopoly, though, I really like how that was used to distract from the violence. So you got violent guy, and then it cuts to You got 3 teenagers stripping, and they're having a lot of fun. And then some commotion happens, and then they all have to leave or whatever. And when the chick leaves to check on her cabin, she doesn't put any clothes on. Like, why? Why are you not putting any clothes on? It's raining. Put your fucking clothes on. You could get murdered out there. Darkness is evil, alright? Why do people not understand this? So anyway, she gets killed by being lured out into the archery range. What a creative spot to get murdered. I really like the struggle with the final chick and the killer. You got a bunch of dead bodies being thrown into the cabin where the final chick is, and she's all freaked out. I like the timing of it. You got her boyfriend, and he's stuck on this door, punctured by a bunch of arrows being held up by them. She's freaking out. And then she finally calms down. She's like, okay, well, what am I gonna do? And then a split second later, another dead body, and she's freaking out. And now we finally see the identity of the killer. And it's this drowned victim's mom, you know? And I honestly thought, knowing the other Friday the 13th series, and having played the game, I thought it'd be Jason in the mask. But not in this movie, no. It's just some woman, some grieving woman who seeks to have revenge on the people who she thinks killed her son. I mean, yeah, the son drowned when 2 counselors went the fuck. It's kind of on them, but I think those counselors are dead. And I think she's just mad that the place is reopening, so she goes and wants to kill all of them. And she also thinks that she hears her son. I personally think it's more of like a psychotic thing, that she's so distraught by her son's death that she thinks she hears her son, and so the son is telling her to kill them all. And that's her justification for killing them all. I don't think Jason would want to kill these people, only the mom does. Now, this is where all the tension has been built up, and I'm just on the edge of my seat at this point, and I'm like, oh my god, is the last girl going to be the last girl? So, they're struggling, right? They're struggling to see who can kill each other, but then the last girl grabs the machete that the mom had brought to the fight and decapitates her in one swoop. And I'm like, oh my god, she did it. The last girl is the last girl and murdered the killer. Wow, this is great. I'm glad this is like a happy ending. So, last girl is saved by the cops. Or is she? Because while she's in the hospital, she dreams that she gets taken under by the drowned victim of Jason, snatched at the last second before being saved. But was this real or not? I personally think it wasn't, because she was in the hospital at the time. How did the cops get her out? But when she says this to the doctor, it's like, what about the little boy? They're like, what little boy? No little boy here. She's like, oh no, it's still there. There's going to be more victims. Oh no. And that's how the story ends. I really like this. It's a classic. I gotta give this film a solid 7 out of 10. The cinematography was excellent. Chef's kiss. And also the tension, and also allowing the viewer to be present within the moment. Having some establishing shots of peace and serene. And it really works well with the tension and the flashes of violence throughout the film, and then goes back to peaceful. And I really like that pattern. And I would definitely watch the other Friday the 13th films, even though I've heard they're worse. But I'd still be interested in watching them. And I'd still be interested in playing the game. On Friday the 13th, whenever that comes up next, I'd be streaming it. If you'd like to see more of my stuff, like early movie reviews whenever I film them, or you got vlogs and art tutorials, check out patreon.com/ASEPresents.